I made a video a couple of weeks ago on the most realistic sword fighting game that I think has ever been out, and whilst I thought it was cool and it was a nice demo to get your hands on it, the actual game of Hellish Quartz has now released into early access. I've had a play around with it, and today we're going to go into my first impressions and whether it's actually worth you guys picking it up. So without further ado, Hellish Quartz is finally here, but is it any good? If anyone doesn't know what this game is about, as a quick overview, Hellish Quartz is a two-person duel simulator. That's kind of the simplistic way of putting it. You pick a character and you pick your enemy's character, especially if you're playing against the AI. You then pick the difficulty of the AI and you go up against them in a 1v1 duel for honor and for death. It's much better with a controller, and it really emphasizes the 3D simulated physics of a proper sword fight. The reason that I think most people are saying this is an incredibly refined and realistic sword fighting simulator is because no game has put this much effort into the combat. But as we'll get on later, they put so much effort into the combat that it has some downfalls on the other side. However, the game had a demo that came out quite some time ago now, and I've been playing it off and on again, and then I made a video a few weeks ago, and it was fine. You had the choice of 3 different characters and 2 different maps. You'd be dueling against each other, and you can test out some of the cool physics. You can have different stances to how you use your swords. You can get up close and you can try and grab the enemy. Your character automatically blocks, meaning that you solely focus on what attacks you do, trying to get around their swings and trying to get through their parries and make this dance into a brutal affair. And it looks gorgeous. Graphically, this game is fantastic. The design on the characters is brilliant, but especially when it comes to actually contacting with the AI and the physical beings that you're dueling against. The sword slashing feels satisfying and it feels realistic. Most of the time, this isn't a fight to the death. It's a fight to first blood, and that's how it normally was in these honorable duels. However, sometimes you get a little bit carried away, and I'm not sure they're going to be walking this one off. But the selling point of this game is its feel. Its intricate details on all the mechanics and all the controls that you can figure out. There's so many different combinations, and I think to a point it kind of gets overwhelming. To start with, you want to know the simple things. The slashing from different sides to sides, being able to step forward and back, and double tapping to dodge and parry and strafe throughout. Depending on where your analog stick is to when you do your attack, it depends on which side and how fast that your character does that attack. You need to be able to get around the opposite side to where the enemy is attacking from. However, if you try and go for an attack at the same time as your enemy, you're going to come into some issues when you find a sword in your skull. I think the AI is good enough, especially on the higher levels. The aggressive AI is pretty tough to go up against, and before multiplayer really comes into it, I think it's something quite important that you get to know the game using the AI. There are passive AIs and maneuverable AIs that are fun to play against just to find your ground with the game, but I think the aggressive AI is really where you're going to be wanting to put most of your practice time to get good at this game. And it's one of those games that it is important to do this. You need to be practicing to get good at this game, because at the end of the day, it's a sword fighting simulator. There's not really anything much else to it, and this means that this is where you put all your time. It's going to be a very simple to learn the basic mechanics, but incredibly difficult to master game. That's something that I've found in just the short amount of time that I've played it so far. I have the basics down. I'm able to get some good kills against the hardest AI, but still I can't reliably win every battle. And this is one of the issues that I have found with the game. With this massive array of realistic and simulated attacks and combinations and ways that you can go about your duels, it brings in so much complexity, meaning that it can overwhelm the player at points. Unless you spent tens of hours learning each individual combo that you can do, you're going to be pretty confused at what's going on. Yeah, you'll get your basic attacks and slashes in and your dodges, and every now and then you'll think, oh, that was a pretty cool move. But one thing I have found is that the game is so saturated with all these different types of moves and mechanics that I have no idea how I'm killing people sometimes. I'll get a kill and I'll be like, right, that was awesome, but what did I do to get that kill? Were they in the wrong position, or did I do a good attack to get round their guard? It's often not all that obvious, and this does come with some bugs and things that are still in the game, with some glitchy combat here and there. Whilst they have focused a lot to try and refine it, there are still issues, and there will still be issues for the foreseeable future, seeing as, once again, it is in early access. One of my favourite characters to play through, especially in this early access version of the game that I bought, is the longsword character. She has this big bastard sword that is much more powerful than anything that I tried in the demo, and especially more powerful than the next character, which is the rapier character that I've been trying out as well. You're able to get that range upon your enemies, and you have to be able to use your weaponry and the skills that your characters have to your advantage. Some of them will be faster, some of them will be stronger, some of them will be more sly and be able to get in and out as quickly as possible. But these are all things that you're going to have to learn, meaning I would say once you get into the game, the best thing to do is to find a character you like and to work on it. Find out their strengths and weaknesses and play to that. I've explained basically what this game is about and given most of my first impressions, but I think most people are probably here to find out if they should actually get it. You see, the game has come out in early access, and unfortunately, I don't think it should have. Currently, the game on Steam stands at just over £11 or almost $16, which is a cheap game, granted, but unfortunately, I don't even think the game is worth that at this point in time. Is it a fun simulation? Yes. Is the direction the developer's going very promising, and do they have some good elements down so far? Definitely yes. But is it worth $16? No. And this is why. When the demo came out, it was obviously free. You have 3 different characters that you can pick from and 2 different arenas that you can fight for. Here you can get a good idea of all the mechanics and everything that they're trying to show you with the game. So you'd expect the early access release would add in a ton more content to make it actually worth getting over the demo. No. Now, granted, this is being recorded the day after it released, so of course there will be much more content being added in very soon, but I think if they're going to release it with the amount of content it has, my first impressions should be of the game that was released, not what it could be. It was released with 2 extra characters and about 4 or 5 extra maps, which is fine, it's cool, right? But at the end of the day, they don't really do anything. The maps do absolutely nothing other than visually pleasing, and the characters, yeah, okay, you can add a rapier character and that longsword character, but that's 2 characters for $16. That's all you're getting. The story mode isn't in yet, which will be coming soon, but it's not in the game at the moment. All you can do is fight these one-on-one battles. There's something called a survival mode that they've added in, but really it's just these one-on-one battles that just play back-to-back, so you can try and survive as many of these duels as possible with the same character, but it's just another name for a game mode that's not really dissimilar to the original just dueling. Multiplayer technically is in the game, but you have to do it third-party through Steam sharing, and it's not fun at all to set up. I wouldn't even bother. Essentially what we're getting is a $16 early access game that has 2 new characters in it from the demo. What's the point? I think this game has incredible potential, and I think what they're doing is amazing, but I'm not sure why they released it in the state that they did, because I can't recommend it. Just get the demo. You'll have exactly the same experience playing the demo as you will playing the paid for early access game. Unless you really want to play with a rapier or a long two-handed sword, there's no reason to buy the game for $16, $15 when you can play the demo and get 3 of the 5 characters and then 2 of the 6 or 7 maps. But let's be honest, maps don't affect anything other than just how it looks when you're playing the game. There's no new game modes, the story mode isn't out yet, the multiplayer isn't implemented properly, there's still 2 characters that aren't in the game, so you're still missing out even if you buy the full early access. There's still characters that are locked because they're not ready yet, so I don't know why it is released in this state. It might be because the developers were running out of funds and they needed to get something else to continue development, or it might just be a bit of an oversight. And that's not saying I don't want this game to do well. I actually really enjoyed what I played of it, and I think it is great, but I think as someone that's doing a first impressions and putting the title, should you buy it, I find it hard to recommend a game where you're paying $16 for 2 characters. If this was a game that released without the demo, sure, it's a bit of fun, it's not too expensive. But with the demo that is already there, that you can get for free, just get that. Just play the demo, have some fun, learn the game. It is a fantastic game and it is a lot of fun to duel and play with friends, but to pay $16 for essentially what is 2 extra characters from the demo, at this point I would wait. I think this is going to be a game that is definitely worth getting in the future, and I can't wait to see what they add in later on, but currently at this stage I just can't advise you guys to pay money for something that you can just get for free in the demo. But what do you guys think? Has anyone actually bought it and played it? Please leave your opinions down below in the comments and I'll be sure to check up on them. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you didn't. But until then, I will see you in the next one.